Hey cousins, happy Thursday to all of you, especially to the gingers. Shout out to the gingers. Oh yes, the gingers are finally getting their due flowers after a black woman went insanely viral on TikTok for declaring that all gingers are black. We have a lot to unpack there, as well as a deeper look into not only the correlation between black people and gingers, but also black people and Jewish people, and why I think that there is a strong case for why we need much more black and Jewish unity. Later in the show, I do want to discuss Judge Joe Brown's hot take regarding Tyler Perry and his statement that Tyler does not like manhood. So we'll be getting into all of that and more today. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You know the vibe. Send in your super chats and subscribe to PragerU.com. Welcome to Respectfully. Okay, so before we get into this insanely viral TikTok regarding, black and Jewish unity, I have to show you this one TikTok that I saw that just irritated my soul, because how dare you desecrate the art of Lee Greenwood? Let's take a look at this ashamed to be an American trend that is going on TikTok right now.
I'm ashamed to be an American, 'cause God knows I'm not free, and I won't forgive the men who lied and took my rights from me, and I'll stand up against your throne and curse her to this day, 'cause there ain't no doubt I used to love this land, but goddamn the USA.
Okay, let's run this back real quick. I want to go through, I need to unpack these lines. I just needed you guys to see this foolery, this clownery in full once. Now, let's go back to this really quick.
Ashamed to be an American.
Pause, then leave. This is always the solution I have to people when they say that they don't want to be an American. There are plenty of countries that are waiting for you with either open arms or ready to give you an open neck. You choose which struggle you want. Okay, shout out to Onijah Robinson. Y'all remember respect to the law, respect the law? She went to Pakistan, okay? She might love being an American too. Oh yes, that's tea that y'all aren't ready for. Onijah Robinson loves being an American, but she also went over to Pakistan, found herself a husband. She said that you're gonna give me land. You're gonna give her $2,000 every week. And look at her now, thriving. So Miss Girl, Miss TikToker, with your nasty, I hate the septum piercings. It looks like two boogers hanging out of your nose. But if you are that ashamed to be an American, leave. Next line.
'Cause God knows I'm not free.
Pause. Everybody wants to be Harriet Tubman. What do you mean you're not free? You're free to put this clownery out there on the internet, and the face that she's making right there, that's exactly how I feel hearing this. Okay, I'm sick of these people sitting here acting like they're not free. You are free to go. You're free to put this BS online, go live somewhere where you're not even free to show your hair, and then come back and tell us that you're not free in America. Let's keep going.
And I won't forgive the men who lied and
Pause. She cooked. She cooked there. Men do lie a lot. I have no further comment on that. But took your rights from you? No, they did not. Nobody lost their rights. And I'm assuming that she's talking about, in this new administration, nobody has taken your rights away. The only thing that has been taken away is the elements of discrimination that were being used in our federal government. Okay, the fact that being black or who you're sleeping with, or you decided to change your gender because the weather told you that you're a girl that day, like those privileges are finally going away. We're back to merit. We're back to the principles that our country was founded upon, except it's more equal now than it even was then. So just what do you mean what rights have been taken from you? And don't worry, girl, depending where you live, and likely you can still go somewhere else. You can still kill your baby if that's really what you want to do, okay? Because that's really what it comes down to for a lot of these people. Let's keep going.
my rights from me, and I'll stand up against your throne.
The way y'all paused it, because y'all just knew. I was debating if I even wanted to say what I wanted to say for this one, but you know what? I should say it. In the name of Mr. Rodriguez. You talking about standing up against the throne, girl? You need to go kneel to the throne and repent and find God. That's what you need to do. You need to go get a little scripture in your life. Let's keep going.
And curse her to this day, 'cause there ain't no doubt I used to love this
I don't think it's F the USA. I think the USA is already effed. And it's because of people like you who don't realize the amount of privilege that you're soaking in every single day in this country. And you decide to continuously play the victim and continuously act like you're not free and equal in this country. And girl, it's tired, it's late, it's packed. Hang it up. You want to be Harriet Tubman. That's our goofy of the day. Moving right on along, let's talk about this whole new phenomena of, you know, I can't even. Gingers are black people. This is the new revelation that we are all unpacking, that gingers are the new black people. So let's play the OG clip that has started this whole discourse.
All gingers are black people. If they have red hair, they are black. You see a white man with red hair, that's a black man. You see a white woman with red hair, that's a black woman. Gingers are black. All gingers.
So all gingers are officially black people. Now, this woman has gone on to elaborate in a couple of videos of what she means. And of course, people are all putting out their different think pieces about what she means. So she's coming at this from a couple different angles. One, she's saying how genetically a lot of ginger people have black people in their ancestry, and that she claims that your families just don't want you to know. At this point, pretty much everybody is mixed. Everybody at this point, for the most part, especially if you live in America, is genetically mixed. If you do not have any ethnic mixture in you at this point, then you probably are now looking like a biblical curse. Okay, no shade to the royals of England, but Princess Diana saved that whole gene pool. Okay, because we have seen what too much inbreeding does. Again, no shade. It is just an objective fact that some of y'all end up looking real crazy out there when you have too much of just a purebred in you at this point. So that whole thing, I just think that was ridiculous. But the main point, that was just like kind of a subcategory of why she's saying that gingers are black. The real reason that gingers are now considered black people is because of all the hardship and struggles that gingers have been going through. And I feel so ignorant that I did not know. I did not know that my freckle-faced friends are actually in oppressed class. Okay, like this is really, really scary out here. Now you have some people, and before we get into people's personal struggles of it all, you know, I showed you guys that funny one of the guy embracing it. Now I want to show you another one just to show you how hyped all of these different gingers are to be black. The family one in the car.
Black queen, have a good day at school. Give me a kiss. Oh.
Look at this black excellence right here. And y'all say black people aren't in the picture. Black fathers aren't in the picture.
Let's go, girls.
Look at this black father presence. The crazy part is they actually do kind of look light skinned. They're actually darker than my dad, believe it or not. I'll show y'all a picture of that one day. But look at this black family, black excellence personified. See, everybody is embracing being black, okay? And I love this. However, I do have a bone to pick with the ginger community. Just a quick one. Where was this love and embrace at when Ariel was black? When the Little Mermaid became Lil Mermaid and Hallie was the black? Yes, when we had a black mermaid, Isha. Lil Mermaid. The gingers were not having it. They said, no, not today, not on our watch. They said that we only have one Disney princess and you came and snatched it and gave it to a black woman. The gingers were mad. They were mad. There was no community of people that was more mad about Ariel being black than the gingers, because they felt that their culture was being appropriated. And you know what? I'm not mad at it. I am forgiving. I am forgiving. And the real thing that really it's just interesting to me to unpack as we see all these different people loving that, all these different gingers loving that they're now black. It feels ridiculous saying it, but it's so valid, is that it really goes to show that America, how is America this racist country? And how is America such a terrible place to be as a black person when you see that so many people are desperate to be embraced by the black community? And there's a bunch of other videos. If you go on the whole TikTok deep dive, literally just search gingers are black and you will see hundreds at this point of videos of people just embracing the fact that they are now invited to the cookout and saying how they're going to be on their best behaviors because they're being embraced by Black people and how they've never felt more seen and loved and accepted. And I just find it funny how there is this narrative that all the white people in America are just inherently born being anti-Black, yet you see this fixation from so many demographics, especially white people, of them embracing and loving Black culture and Black people. So, and it's like, the thing is I think that people, like we talked about Black fatigue earlier this week, I think people are fatigued of hood rattery. Hood rattery and Black culture need to stop being so synonymous. Unfortunately, there's an argument to be made that a lot of it is, but in a general sense, outside of the individual characteristics that hood rattery people have, people love Black folk. Shout out to Black people. Shout out to gingers. But that's kind of me repeating myself because gingers are now Black. Oh, yes. Now, the more heavy side of TikTok talking about gingers being Black is people really breaking down, talking about what it is that they have been through as gingers in America, which, again, I didn't know it was this chaotic. Do we have the video of the young lady breaking down?
The redheads are Black trend. I want to talk about it because I did not think so many redheads would come on the internet and share all of their stories. My eyes are literally watering right now because I think it's so crazy that our entire childhood, we were hated. We were bullied, like we were made fun of for anything possible, like our freckles, our hair, the color of our skin, like being so pale. My entire childhood, I was bullied for having red hair. I was bullied for freckles. I was bullied for being pale. I was bullied for being different. It hurts to know that everybody around me called me the devil, like told me that I have no soul, told me that I was a witch. Like, the amount of bullying I got, it is crazy because everybody's like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. But I'm reading these comments and it was so bad. Like, the stories that people said, like, it's all the same for all of us redheads. And I think it's crazy because redheads would not have this confidence if the one lady did not post that video saying redheads are Black. I don't want to cry. But I am so happy to see all of the redheads on TikTok right now, on all over social media, talking about how happy they are, how they love how everybody who talked down on them wants to be them, how everybody's trying to dye their hair, like trying to get this color. Like, they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars trying to become us.
Trying to become. I'm sorry, that is such a Black woman coded statement about how much white people are spending to try to look like them, which a little bit of tea. But all that to say, and you could say vice versa because that's not the hair that's going on your scalp, Black girls. But all that to say, I had mixed feelings on this. Part of me was just like, oh, here you go. What was me playing the victim? But the other part of me is like, you know what? Whether you're drowning in 3 feet of water or 10 feet of water, you're still drowning. I do have empathy for this girl. And, I've grown up with a handful of Jewish people, or not Jewish people, of ginger people. And of the ginger community, I have seen like the teasing that happens. I didn't know that it was to this level of intensity until I started going on this deep dive and seeing so many people crying. These gingers have been through so much, apparently. Like, I already know, like, there's the different crazy things that people say, like, I don't know, can I say fire crotch? Fire crotch, redheaded stepchild, people saying that gingers don't have a soul, all these different things. And I can imagine as a kid that must have been hurtful, and probably why a lot of gingers have thick skin now, because some of the people that you really don't want to try that will really whoop you on any given day that ends with a Y are gingers. Oh yes, gingers have hands. Gingers will scrap with you because they have been through it. They have been bullied and teased and outcast. The redhead stepchild, like, there is a reason that is a phrase. So I get it. So I guess the similarity and struggle there is now how Black people and gingers are trauma bonding. And it's just interesting to me. There was a guy I wanted to show his perspective of it too, a little less emotional, but just a bit more like about time type of vibe.
She said redheads, gingers are Black. Okay? And it did not matter to us that she was not talking about culture. It did not really matter that she was talking about having a common ancestor. That is an added layer of beauty, for sure. But for us, we've been ready to leave. Okay, you said that, and no sooner were the words out of your mouth than we had, divorce papers were served, and we were halfway down the block. I cannot stress enough how stupid life is for no reason sometimes for redheads. Like, most of the time, people just, you're just another person, right? You're just another white guy. But then there's handfuls of people that you run into like landmines, and they have a very strong opinion about your existence. Okay, half of them will fetishize you, which I don't know. I don't get a lot of that personally, but it has happened, right? I've had people saying, "Oh, they love my hair," and then they touch me. They touch my hair. That happens even to me. I have the sexual appeal of a big toe with a yeast infection. Okay, so if that's happening to me, I know that redheaded women are dealing with just dog men so much all the time. And on the other side of that, you've got people who just can't not bring up that you're a redhead. It's like the scene from Austin Powers when he's like, moly, 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 moly. It's like that. It feels like that. And redheads, if you're watching this, please remember, I know this is fun right now. I know you guys are trying to run with this, and some of you are being just so great with it. Please be respectful. Please be mindful that you are white. Your skin is white. You carry that privilege, no matter what TikTok says. Okay? Be mindful. Be respectful.
Okay, here's the thing. As ridiculous as all of this is, I believe him. I believe every word he just said. Okay, I really do. And I guess it's because, when he talks about it, first of all, it's so funny that he's sitting here like there's about to be a mass exodus of gingers leaving the white community. I did not realize that there were so many ginger refugees that were just ready to flee the plantations of gingerhood. Like, I had no idea that y'all were going through this level of struggle. But, when he talks about like certain things, like what people would call a microaggression, there's certain things that end up sounding so woke because of the way people hyperfixate on them. But there are elements of truth to it. Like, as a Black person that grew up around mostly white people for a predominant portion of my childhood, I know the annoyance and just how strange it is that a lot of white people will come up and touch my hair. It's like a thing. Like, growing up, like, it was always a thing. And like, there's a lot of times I meet people and it's like there's this pressing desire and need that they have to acknowledge the fact that I'm Black. And it's just like, okay, yeah, cool. And it's like, it's not something I lose sleep at night about. It's not something that like bothers me to my core. It is just something that's a little weird. And I guess because as a Black person growing up, I had this understanding of the differences and like the fact that there's all this rhetoric and conversing and conversations and everything that happens around the fact that there are differences between, or there's physical differences between Black and white people and the historical differences and all of that. I guess I'm used to it. So when I look at someone like these ginger people who are now emotional and freaking out about the fact that like we have dealt with similar experiences, but it's never been able to be acknowledged without sounding like we're playing the victim card, I understand the frustration. I'm not going to lie. Like, some people are being a bit dramatic about it, but, it is a really interesting premise to see. I did not know that there was this much infighting amongst the Caucasians. But I believe it. It's similar to colorism. Colorism gets blocked or like bunched in with this narrative of racism, which, yes, there's some intersectionality there. But colorism, if you don't know, it's usually within your race, within your demographic. Like, there tends to be feuds and tensions between light-skinned people and dark-skinned people in the Black community. Or you really see it in the Asian and the Hispanic communities, where the shade of your complexion, even within your own race, tends to be a very polarizing discussion. And I didn't know, maybe it's like that for Caucasians. White people in the chat, white cousins, can y'all let me know, are these people being dramatic, or are gingers really getting treated this terribly? And the ginger erasure of it all. I've talked about before the concept of blacking the redhead. I think there's this weird thing, this phenomenon in Hollywood, that whenever they want to bring in diversity to a character, they black the redhead, meaning they take the redheaded character, and whether it's during the live action or during a reboot or just abruptly in the series, they turn the redheaded character into a Black person. So I can totally understand why that's irritating, because I do believe, like, as a kid, representation does matter when you're looking at role models and people that you get to emulate and idolize, and like, or I shouldn't say idolize, but y'all know what I mean, just like the role models that you have that are on TV. Like, there is some value to having ones that look like you, and time again they keep taking the ginger character and making them the Black character. So it's an interesting conversation that I think is worth having. But don't get too comfortable, Gingers, because there's already new rules being made for you. Oh yes, there's already people clapping back at y'all. There's already people telling you the rules of the cookout. I think we have a clip for that too.
I know that gingers are black now, and I'm really not trying to shitty by cereal, but I need to know where you align on black issues. And I also need to know who you voted for. That all depends if you get to stay at the cookout or if you get a to-go plate.
So, Gingers, welcome to the Black community where you're not allowed to think outside of the monolith. You are expected to vote a certain way and to think a certain way. And I would say you're supposed to let your skin color think for you. But I guess for you guys, your hair is supposed to think for you, as ridiculous as that is. So, welcome to the Black community. This is the warmest welcome that I feel like you possibly could have. Is this sister? Because look at her, she means it too. She means it. If y'all come to the cookout, there are rules and regulations. And I even saw there were some that were so funny. They were like, Gingers, we don't know if y'all can throw down in the kitchen yet, so y'all can just start with bringing the paper cups and paper plates. It is so unserious on Black TikTok and Ginger TikTok. But it's just really interesting seeing all this trauma bonding happening. You know, this trauma bonding where people feel the need to be grouped together the most with people that have been through similar trauma as them. It's never like, I feel like it's rarely when you see communities coming together, it's rarely we have the same goals or we have the same ambitions on a widespread level. It's we went through similar things in the past, so now these struggles have created who we are. And it's just an interesting premise to me to see that this is happening in such a way. And I think it's a combination of things here. I think it's one, you have a group of people, the Gingers, who finally feel seen. So they're running and flocking to it, especially because it's Black people and because as much as nobody wants to be Black because they're so oppressed, everybody wants to be Black because we shift culture and we shape society and all these different things, and we're so cool and all these different, like, it's interesting to me that in the same breath of people saying that Black people are the most oppressed class, we're also the class that everybody wants to be like. It's very interesting. And then you have Black people who are leaping at the thought of having a potential ally. You know, Black people, when we have our movements and all the different things that we have going on, we're always looking for other groups to step in and join too. And trust me when I say that all these progressive movements 100% take advantage of that. Every single time there is a movement that starts to fail, whether it is Free Palestine, LGBT, you name it, they always go and they try to make it into a Black person's issue. It could be about disability awareness and ableism, and they're going to say that this is a Black person's issue. Stop putting us on everybody's flag. Stop putting us on everyone's flag. We don't need to be a part of every movement. But again, Black people are always looking for a new ally to bring on in with this overall climate of victim Olympics that we live in, where everybody feels like they're constantly being attacked, which, yes, historically, there's some truth to that. With the Black community, for sure. With the Ginger community, well, if they're Irish, for sure, too, because the Irish, oh, yes, a lot of the Irish people were on those slave ships with us, but nobody's ready for that discourse. But, you know, the Irish have been through a lot too. So I guess it's an alliance that can make some sense to me. But the group that I really think that we should be looking more at as a potential ally is, I think that the Jewish and the Black communities just make so much more sense together. And, you know, if we're going to talk about things that we have been through as a society and as a culture, I really do believe that, historically speaking, and even today, Black and Jewish unity needs to be brought back. And Will and Adam, can you guys pull up my outline, please? You know, there are similar struggles that when you look at all the different things that have all the different groups and entities and like the movements that have been against Jewish people, they're also against Black people and vice versa. You know, we've both been hated by the KKK. We've both been hated by Nazis and by white supremacists throughout history. You know, we were both targeted by Planned Parenthood. You know, a lot of people talk about the racist origins of Planned Parenthood, which is true. If you look at that raggedy wench, Margaret Sanger, and if you look, that just made me want to take my glasses off. Y'all know I got these new glasses, and that is way too much detail on that woman's face for me. I've never seen her looking that old, crotchety, and evil. How can you look that woman in the eye and not think that that is an evil not think that that is an evil wench with those cheap pearls? Now, this crotchety, low down, dirty wench She is Margaret Sanger. She is the one that was, really tied into eugenics. And she was one of the leaders of Planned Parenthood that wanted to eradicate America of Black people and of Hispanics. And a lot of people know that, but they don't often acknowledge that they also wanted to get rid of the Jewish community. Planned Parenthood was made for eugenics. It was not made for healthcare. It was not made for women's rights. It was made to get rid of people of color. Okay, so if you're going to talk about something that's systemically racist, talk about the fact that these Planned Parenthood institutions are based all around and in majority Black communities. I think it's like over 70% of them are placed inside of Black communities. And whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, that's not even the conversation we're having here. I'm just letting y'all know the history and the agenda that was there. So y'all can save that discourse and argument for another day, because I'm not even trying to have that right now. But when we look at those type of things, we will look at the fact that whether it was redlining and housing discrimination, we talk about the fact that throughout history and even to this present day, there is always this scapegoating and these stereotypes and FBI surveillance that Black and Jewish people dealt with really at the same time. If you look at the history of FBI surveillance and how heavy it was on Jewish communities and on Black communities, especially during the Civil Rights Movement, similar struggle there. We also relate on the fact that book burnings have been one of the worst things to have happened to us. The Jewish community has done a good job of now preserving their history through their national library over in Israel, which I actually just got to see in Jerusalem, which was incredible, by the way. Book burnings, making it to where we don't know our history anymore. I feel like part of why the Black community from a spiritual level crashes out as much as we do is because we don't have that connection with our roots and our origin anymore. A lot of us don't know our true history. A lot of Black people are indigenous to America. A lot of Black people who think they're just descendants of slaves from the West Atlantic slave trade or the transatlantic slave trade, they're actually indigenous to America. There was a lot of Black people who were indigenous. There's a lot of Black people that ended up becoming slaves that were Jewish. There's a lot of Black people from Israel. There's a lot of Black people from all over the world that have connections and roots to these different places that do not have that connection anymore because of the way our history was burned and erased and taken away from us. Making it to where Black people didn't know how to read was very consequential during slavery and during all of the things that happened there. And same thing happened with the Jewish community. We have that trauma that we can bond on, and it's something that is actually a lot more intersectional, especially considering like I just said, there's a lot of Black people who are Jewish. So it's like that combination makes so much sense to me. So it's really disheartening to me to see that there's such a disconnect and so much tension today between the Black and the Jewish community. And it's such a slap in the face of our ancestors when you look back at the Civil Rights Movement and even the different labor movements that were going on. And the fact that when Black people couldn't get hired, who was hiring them? Jewish people. When Jewish people couldn't get hired, who was hiring them? Black people. Okay. Some of the most vocal people in the fights for civil rights were those two demographics fighting for each other. I actually have a list here of just some specific examples in history that I think might be beneficial for you guys to get some more context of what I'm saying, of just the support that these communities have had for each other. So like back in the early 20th century, Jewish leaders like Julius Rosenwald partnered with Booker T. Washington to fund over 5,000 schools for Black children in the South. Okay, so these Jewish leaders were funding Black education. Jewish people were at the forefront of making sure that we had the access to books and to learn how to read and to be literate, because Jewish people have understood and continue to understand that knowledge is power. And that is something that Black people, I wish, would take more notes on in our community today. When we talk about how to move forward, we move forward through, proper education and through, resilience instead of this victim mentality that we're taught to have today. Then when we talk about Black support for Zionism, prominent Black leaders like W.E. Du Bois and Paul Robeson, they publicly supported Jewish self-determination and Zionism all throughout the 1940s. And if you don't know, Israel was founded in 1948. 47, 48, I believe 1948. So like throughout the 1940s, Black people had Jewish people's back. W.E.B. Du Bois, he was one of the most prolific just leaders and the entire black community in the early 20th century. So he really was somebody that stood on business when it came to Zionism. Then you had many Jewish immigrants like Isaac and Rachel Friedman from Philadelphia. They aided the Underground Railroad. They risked their lives being alongside black abolitionists. Then you, even as recent as the 1990s, you had black churches that defended their Jewish neighbors, because in the 90s, there were black congregations in Chicago and New York who organized patrols to protect synagogues from anti-Semitic attacks. You also have Jewish attorneys like Jack Greenberg, who led the NAACP Legal Defense Fund in the 1960s, which I know the NAACP is a hot mess now, but at the time, you know, these progressive ideas actually made sense at the time because people really didn't have rights back then. But they argued for landmark cases like Brown v. Board of Education. If you don't know that case, Brown v. Board of Education back in 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court case was what declared that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional. And they overturned this whole separate but equal doctrine that we had up until that point. So if it wasn't for these Jewish attorneys stepping up and aligning with the black community, who's to say whether or not black people would even be in the same schools with white people to this very day? In just one more, you know, you have, and there's so many more that I could get into, but black soldiers liberated Jewish soldiers, you know, back in 1945. So black U.S. Army units like the 761st Tank Battalion helped liberate Jewish prisoners from Nazi concentration camps back in 1945. So this history, it runs deep. The point that I'm trying to get here, leading y'all down this whole edutainment, is that black and Jewish people, we need to bring that unity back because historically we have always aligned. We have been through, you know, so many similar struggles. Yes, there's been tension in the communities, but we can't keep allowing this Free Palestine movement to make us lose the plot. Okay, BLM aligning with Free Palestine, all that is Marxism that has completely derailed both of our communities in a way that is so destructive. I cannot emphasize that enough. And I want to say shout out to Ashira Solomon. If you go on my YouTube, one of the first videos that I have on my YouTube before I even started Respectfully was my interview with Ashira Solomon. And we do a real deep dive into just what it's like for her being a black woman living in Israel. And she's actually a black girl from California that moved out to Jerusalem. She's now in Miami and has an incredible podcast called, I believe it's Being Black and Jewish. Incredible podcast, incredible work. You know, black and Jewish unity, I feel like it's one of those things. Oh, I didn't know you pulled up the clip. Look at that. Surfing face card. That's my homegirl. That's one of my favorite cousins. So yeah, please go and watch that interview because I think it's extremely insightful and just really emphasizes the importance of black and Jewish unity. Now, speaking of black folk, I want to talk about Judge Joe Brown with his iconic self. So Judge Joe Brown was on a podcast recently and he went off on Tyler Perry. So I briefly just want to dive into this because I thought it was a really interesting discussion that he brought up.
How you feel about Tyler Perry?
He strikes me as somebody that does not like manhood.
The
It's
receipts.
First off, he doesn't get paid what his white counterparts get paid for doing essentially the same thing. He, along with some other people, pervade what I call mind crack.
Mind crack is crazy.
The crack dealer, if he's hardworking, enterprising, can make a lot of money, but it's still crack. Whether it's ideas or whether it's drugs. It's his business, it's America. But I want somebody to start pushing manhood because I've seen 50 years worth of televised emasculation. I'm glad we have the equalizer. I'm glad, but he's unfortunately dead now. Got the concierge in the John Wick's series with the Continental Hotel, the brother with the shaved head. I'm glad we have those things. Who are they giving us as heroes to emulate? Not many. Not many at all.
First of all, I have to clap back to this comment in the live chat real quick because, yes, I'm looking. Talking about I ducked a debate from, I'm not even going to say that person's name. He's not getting free clout on my platform. No, I did not duck a debate with that man. That man literally is trolling influencer. See, here's the thing. If somebody wants to debate me about something, at least send me a topic. If you're another creator, do not send me a message saying, let's debate. I say, debate about what? And then you just being like, why you shouldn't be in politics, why I don't like you. I'm not about to sit here and debate you about whether or not you like me. I'm a grown man. So please, I do not care if you like me. You don't even have your real name online, loser. Anyway, go into what Judge Joe Brown had to say. Because that Ms. Rodriguez, I hear you back there, Kian. That comment just pissed me off. Talking about I'm ducking a debate. That man is ducking. Let me not.
I saw that comment too.
I'm sending him a cease and desist. I already have it drafted. I just haven't sent it yet. Yeah, Charles, it's coming your way. I know your real name.
I saw that comment too, and I was like, I'm wondering if he's going to respond to it. But glad you did.
Yeah, if the person commenting that is a friend of Charles, just let him know the cease and desist is officially coming. So all that to say, Judge Joe Brown, what do you have to say about Tyler Perry? You know, I don't want to do too much on Tyler Perry. I hear a lot of different narratives about him. And overall, I respect his story. I respect how many people he's made wealthy along the way with him. And, you know, I haven't heard any direct incident. Like, I haven't heard any, how do I say this? From people that have encountered him in person or have worked with him in person, I haven't heard any bad stories directly from them. So I don't know too much about Tyler Perry, but I will say he definitely does like playing a woman, and he definitely does have a theme in a lot of his movies where Black women tend to be the more masculine leader, triumphant feminist types, and it more often than not is the Black women being like, oh, we don't need a man type of energy, and the men are typically emasculated. The male characters in a lot of his movies, and I will say I haven't watched much from Tyler Perry in the last 10 years, but growing up I used to watch pretty much everything that he put out, but I got tired of the fact that it felt like the same plot every single time. But more often than not, it's like the men are either just trash men, they're either trash men, they are just beta, like they don't stand on any business. They're terrible fathers, terrible husbands. They're scared of their wives. They're scared of everything and everybody. They're broke. And if they're not broke, they're rich and evil. So more often than not, I feel like Tyler Perry portrays Black men in such a terrible light while uplifting Black women, but in a way that is inherently toxic to them by making them this more feminist style manly figure. So I've never been a big fan of that. So it was interesting to see Judge Joe Brown call that out, and a lot of people were getting upset about it. But to me, I think it perfectly aligns with what a lot of people have been seeing for a while in this whole war of Hollywood versus Black masculinity. You know, Cat Williams talked about this pretty extensively on both the Club Shay Shay podcast and on Joe Rogan's podcast, where Cat Williams in this perm. I have nothing bad to say. You will not catch me slandering that man. Cat Williams, the icon, the legend. Shout out to Cat Williams. Cat Williams clocked the tea though. He talked to, yes, that's better. Have Cat looking together in that hat, in that good old plantation hat. So Cat Williams, this man, he called out the fact that in Hollywood, especially in Black Hollywood, the way to ascend to stardom seems to be you have to put on the dress. Do we have that video, the compilation?
I don't think we have the compilation.
Will, did you get that? The video with like all the...
Oh, yes. Actually, no, we do.
Yeah, because
it has a weird name. I was like, oh, Shabuzi, what's going on?
Oh, not the Shabuzi one. There's another one. Do we have that where it's Cat Williams' face and then a whole montage?
Let me take a look for it.
Okay, so I airdropped it to Will. So there's so many Black prominent men in Hollywood. It's almost every single prominent, especially if they're a comedian, all of them have had to put on the dress. And I don't know if that same stigma has happened with white actors. I know there's obviously a lot that I've seen in dresses. Like I've seen John Cena, John Travolta, like I've seen a handful, but I don't think it's this constant reoccurring situation. And you can just play it with no sound on the side, because I just want people to get the visual of how many of these Black actors are in the dress. Like, oh, not the Shanae, my dear. like all of these different actors. And the thing is the person who made this compilation, there's like multiple parts of it. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all are gonna stop saying I look like that character, that Fifth Element character. Stop doing me like that. Y'all keep don't do me. Don't do me. I have nothing in common with that man. Somebody edited my photo with Paris Hilton and put that on there. I felt so disrespected. But yeah, you name the prominent black actor, they have had to take this hyper effeminate role portraying a woman. And it's like, why? Is that the humiliation ritual that people talk about? It wouldn't surprise me. We've been hearing about these humiliation rituals for a long time. And I don't even want to go down the whole route of why he thinks this whole thing is happening. But go look at his clip when he talks to Joe Rogan about it. Why he thinks that not only is there the push for transgenderism, but for black men to be in dresses in Hollywood. It's really rooted in some dark entities over in Hollywood, and the fight against masculinity in media, and just the way that they try to make the whole structure of the nuclear family within the black community be unbalanced. It's really getting scary. That's something that Hollywood and the left have had in common for a very long time, of wanting to destroy all nuclear roles in the black community. And people got mad at me because I called this out like a week ago when I saw Shabusi was over at the Met Gala, and I like Shabusi's music. And the thing is, when he came out wearing this outfit, Shabusi, he's the guy when he came out wearing this, look, here's what I have to say about this. Because sometimes y'all clock me for what I wear, and I don't care. I don't care if he actually enjoys wearing this. But if you look at his body language, you look at his face, he does not look comfortable in this. That's a clearly feminine outfit right there. Like, that is a woman's clothing. And it's funny, my friend Paris, she said that she liked what he was wearing. I'm like, yeah, Paris, because you would look good in it. That is clearly an outfit for a woman. And again, if he wanted to wear that, cool. But my gut intuition, I could be dead wrong. This is the source of this is trust me, bro. I can tell he does not want to wear that. And I feel like because he's this new rising star that is blown up out of nowhere, I shouldn't say out of nowhere, after being featured on Beyonce's album and then getting his huge song, a bar song, Tipsy, now all of a sudden he's wearing this. And watch him become the biggest star next year too. Because he's following the rules of what they want to see from black men in Hollywood. It's just really concerning to me. Am I reaching, or do I have a point? Because Lord knows y'all are going to let me know. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, cousins, for another episode of Respectfully. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends and family to make sure they tune into the show. And catch me on Fox News in 50 minutes? 50 minutes, I'll be live. So I'll be on Ingram Angle talking about reparations, because the left is once again pushing for reparations, which we all know it's some BS. But until then, I'll see you next week.